What year was it that we tried to merger with Fairview Presbyterian Church?
I believe that was in the middle to the late 70s. We had, before that, we had had joint worship services with Fairview. Fairview was a black church located downtown.
A small church.
Yes, a very small black church. And we considered merging. And they had an interest in merging because their membership was declining. And we had meetings with them for probably several months. And ultimately, they decided that they didn't want to merge with us, that we were a larger church and they would lose their identity if they merged with us. But we grew some, and in the 1980s, we had a growth spurt. And then in the 90s, we had a really decline in our membership. And we were really concerned that we might not be able to keep the doors open.
The mid-90s were a really difficult time for Northminster. Surprising to many of us, because the 80s were wonderful. They were what we wanted church to be. But churches change, and sometimes you don't notice it until, things are not the way we want them. And we did all of the things that we thought we were supposed to do. We had consultants. We heard hard things about ourselves that we really didn't want to believe were true. And I think it was when we finally acknowledged that no amount of our own study or intelligence could provide the answer. And we sat in the library, a small group of us, and we acknowledged that to each other, that it was beyond our capability. But we began to feel a vision of what God wanted us to be. And that was an oasis in the midst of the desert that we all made of God's good world. And as we began to see that, words began to come together that showed us an aspiration.
We are called as a community of faith
to become
God's vibrant creation.
Amid the desert we have made of God's world.
Here in this place, the presence, the promise, and the power of God's amazing love
compels us to live joyfully,
allows us to question, doubt, explore, and discover,
renews us to serve God's world,
and propels us forth to share all that nourishes our souls
with all those we encounter after the manner of
Jesus of Nazareth.
As people of faith, we accept the challenge and responsibility
to become more like Jesus in our daily lives.
As a community, we covenant together to uphold one another in this endeavor.
We offer our energies and ourselves to God,
that through the transforming power of the Spirit working in us,
This vision shall become
a reality.
But our way.
This vision shall become a reality.
When the pandemic hit and we had to start thinking about what to do different, I don't know, it was just such a strange and interesting time. I think it just kind of hit me as a all hands on deck moment.
There was no big division in the church or stressful session meetings where we were having to make decisions, because we thought, well, if we look at the data And we know we want to be compassionate and care for our most vulnerable members of our congregation. And so early on, like a lot of churches, we were completely shut down in terms of the building, and we pivoted to online worship very quickly within a couple weeks. And that was where I had never been so grateful to be married to an audiovisual technician. But Joel had a lot of time to help us figure out how to do online church in really creative ways. Jay was an incredibly valuable resource too.
And I was like, how can we get music involved here? And if I saw a way that people were doing it elsewhere, then I thought, hey, well, how can we do that? I thought about, what I would want in a virtual worship service, what I would want if I was in watching a church service from home. And that was when I volunteered to help be on the screen and be a liturgist. And I think you asked Rachel Lessler, let's get a couple faces on the screen so that people are seeing more than one person, and anything that just helped make the change still feel engaging, because it was going to be so different. We knew that it was just going to feel so different. We needed to do what we could to help people feel connected to the experience.
We didn't have a way to really live stream anything yet. And we didn't know everything was about to shut down. We just were wanted to do church still. And so I think we just texted as many people whose numbers we had in the church, and we're like, hey, at this time we're all going to get on a Zoom call, and went through the liturgy together. And I think we all took different bits of the sermon and read it out loud with each other, and just got really creative, relied on a lot of the creativity of other members of our church to create videos for kids to watch with their families. I would create coloring packets and sticker packets for the kids that had a Bible story, and mailed those out every week.
We know we can do a virtual broadcast because we've been kind of doing this static camera passive feed, and I think that helped also evolve into where we are now with multi-camera. And I think that's what makes people feel welcome and want to watch the current live stream that we have, and we give attention to it, from here, whether it's listening, inviting them to share their prayers, or including them just in saying welcome and communion and saying, have your elements ready at home, and you're a part of this too.
Our real concern was, what does it mean to not keep each other safe? Felt more important. And how do we invite children into this? But how do we invite their families in while also knowing everyone is so overwhelmed right now?
And while we missed being able to be together, again, everyone knew that we were doing what was keeping people safe. And hopefully we did it in a way that still allowed us to connect. And I think our online worship, we actually grew during that time. We had a new member class that started just before COVID hit. And so that whole group joined by Zoom on Pentecost in 2020. We had 14 people join the church months into us not even being able to be in the sanctuary. I think, to me, there was something about the fact that it didn't create conflict in this church that allowed us to be a space that felt healthy and vibrant, and that drew some people, I think, to the church at that time.